Good morning. Vaso burn, literal burn. It's coming, slowly but surely. Who knows if I'll ever find abs? I highly doubt it. I have a lot of questions like, oh Millie, what does the waist trainer do? Do you notice more benefits with it? Does it work? So first and foremost, what I wear, it's a sweat belt. It's not a waist trainer. I don't really know much about waist trainers. I think they're meant to be a bit like corsets, so they're meant to like cinch your waist a little bit more, something like that, make it smaller, fuck knows, remove some ribs. I don't really know what a waist trainer is meant to do. I'm gonna be honest, I'm ignorant about it. So that is a sweat belt. Oh, do you notice any more benefits of fat loss with it? Let me explain why I use it. So this redness that you see on me is because I apply topical Yohimbine in the mornings to my stubborn fat areas. Many of you will now be saying, what the fuck is Yohimbine? Well, let me explain what Yohimbine is. It's a compound which is extracted from an African tree bark, I believe. And it basically, what it is, it's an alpha-2 adrenergic receptor antagonist. Now, I know that that sounds like a foreign language to you, yet so many people are more than happy to go ahead and fucking use stuff that they don't even know what it does. So let me explain it to you, and let me explain why it probably won't benefit you unless you are competing. So your fat cells have alpha and beta receptors. When you are in, you've got fight or flight mode, which is the sympathetic state. When you are in that state, your body releases catecholamines. It's a type of hormone. And when those catecholamines bind to the beta receptors on your fat cells, they can be mobilized and they fuck off, basically, in layman's terms. However, in certain fat cells, more stubborn fat cells, you have more alpha receptors. Now, when the catecholamines bind to those alpha receptors, it actually stops those fat cells from mobilizing. So if you are to block the alpha receptors with an alpha-2 adrenergic receptor antagonist, such as Yohimbine, then it will allow those fat cells to mobilize a little bit more. The research, it is there to support the evidence, but the difference that it makes is minimal. And it doesn't work unless, one, you are in a fasted state, two, you are in a calorie deficit, and I'm in a steep fucking one, and three, that you're already not carrying excess body fat, that you have a kind of lower body fat percentage, and the difference that it make might just be a 1% difference, if not even a 0.5% difference. So to someone who has a lot of body fat to lose or a higher body fat percentage, using Yohimbine, whether that be topical or oral, is going to be like shoveling a mound of shit with a baby spoon. Okay, so it won't work for most people, and if it does work for me, it's only going to make the tiniest difference. The sweat belt comes in because, just like many chemical reactions in the world, when you supply them with more energy, aka in the form of heat, they tend to speed up and work a little bit better. So that's why I wear the sweat belt, because it causes that increase in localized heat. So it brings the temperature up of those areas a little bit more. That's literally it. Spot reduction of fat is not possible. Yohimbine might contribute to a tiny little bit. It's a drop in the ocean for someone who isn't already quite lean. This is just the tiny percent of a difference, and I need that tiny percent of a difference because I'm getting up on a fucking stage and I need to be shredded. For most people, it's not actually worth doing. So I hope that kind of makes sense, and I know I've rambled on a lot, but I want to provide you guys with the actual reasoning, the reasoning behind why I do stuff, because other people will just fucking tell you, oh yeah, this is what I do, these are the supplements that I take because they make me feel good. Yet they have no idea what they're putting in their body or what they're doing to their body. Well, I'm not like that. I want to explain things to you. So I think that's that. That's why I use a sweat belt, because it helps to heat up that area where I've applied a little bit of topical Yohimbine, which might contribute to the tiniest percentage of some spot reduction. Now, my arm hurts, so we're on to the rest of the vlog. So it kind of has got to that stage where I don't really know what to show you guys. You know, lockdown, prep, it's been the fucking same for the whole time. So I've kind of ran out of topics. I did ask you guys on Monday, I think, whether you had any topics that you wanted me to cover. And for some reason, everyone took that as a Q&A. So I've had loads of questions come through. I might go through a few of them. I've already kind of covered the waist trainer, sweat belt, Yohimbine topic. So another one that is quite common that you guys ask is vacuums. Why do you do vacuums? How do you do vacuums? What do they help with? All of that good stuff. So first things first, again, vacuums are not going to help you get a smaller waist. They're not going to help you with fat loss. They don't do any of that. What vacuums are good for is training your transverse abdominis, which is a deep muscle in your core, which sometimes typical core exercises don't activate it as much. And this is very important for midsection control. On stage, you're going to be held in poses against other, for the judges to compare you against other people for like minutes at a time. And if you exhale and breathe out into your belly, you're going to look like you got a fucking turtle belly, and that's not flattering for stage photos or for, you know, just getting judged on a bodybuilding stage. So it's really important to be able to control your midsection for a prolonged period of time. So that's why I do vacuums, because it helps me to control my midsection a little bit more. When you see me in my check-in photos, in my poses, my midsection is completely controlled, tucked in as much as I can, almost vacuumed in a little bit there. It's not what my belly usually looks like. The way that you perform a vacuum is very simple. You exhale, and sometimes it's almost easier if you breathe all the way in than breathe all the way out to exhale. Then you just do a big fucking suck and suck it all up. Like, I don't really know how else to explain it. Some people find it really difficult to do them. I can just do them. And they have been getting easier over time. They do get easier over time as you lose a little bit more body fat, because you've got less mass that you need to use your muscle to control, to pull in. Does that make sense? Less mass on your belly to pull in. So that's why I've been doing vacuums. I don't really do vacuum practice, but because I do posing practice and I kind of vacuum every single day while I do my posing practice, I guess you might as well count that as vacuum practice. But that's what it's for. So again, you probably don't need to fucking do it unless you're going to step on a stage. So that's that one covered. I'm at that stage now where I've got so much work to do right now. I don't know what to do first. So I'm going to ignore my life responsibilities. And I'm going to go and buy some Linda McCartney sausages. Let's go. Hello. Let's do a little sit down video. There's something that I wanted to talk about in terms of a topic for this week. So what you would have just seen is my second check-in of this week. The reason that I have done a second check-in was because after my check-in on Sunday, I had a bit of a fucking head wobble. I was really just frustrated with my physique, to be honest. And I was just kind of getting there, I'm definitely not going to be ready, I'm worried, I don't know if I'm progressing at the right rate. It's really fucking difficult when you've never got to stage lean before and you know that you're kind of like looking into the abyss, aiming to get somewhere that you've never got to before. And obviously, I mean, I don't just want a fucking participation badge, I want to do my very, very best. So that's why I think I just lost my head a little bit. And after I checked in with Danny, she was like, right, check in with me again on Thursday. We'll see how you're getting on. And things have been a lot better these last few days. And I'm feeling like I've got my head in the game a lot more. There's some other things that are happening this month. Obviously, gym's reopening on Monday. And a few other bits that are just going to help me have the rest of prep run smoothly as fuck, hopefully. So that's the truth behind it, you know. It's such a mental game to not only be having to push yourself to get everything done. You know, I've got 4 training sessions a week, I've got 6 cardio sessions a week, 13,000 steps a day, I've got life responsibilities, people to look after, people to see, people to spend time with, lots of fucking work to do. So that's what I mean in terms of like, it's just, this has got a very noisy head at the moment, but I've just worked on, do you know what I brought back in? I brought back in meditation. I brought back in a little bit of meditation to just bring me down. If you haven't meditated and you think it's some hippy dippy bullshit, it's really not, because it's actually a massive skill to be able to just remain still in your brain and to acknowledge thoughts but not to entertain them, to acknowledge that you're thinking but to actually just that thought and push it away. And it's something which I did a lot in 2019 when I was ill for about 6 months. I did a lot of meditating and it got me through. I want to talk about what you don't see on the kind of what is behind the filter of prep, because Instagram and social media and all of that, you see everyone's best bits, but you don't actually see the fucking reality of what actually goes on when someone is digging deep and prepping. And that's what I'm going to talk about. And I wrote like a little list on my phone, which I'm going to locate now. The amount of notes I have on here, again, if I don't write something down, it's not in my head anymore. So number one, I've already kind of covered. It's that anxiety of, am I going to be fucking ready on time? It's a very quick process to get from, you know, where you are at the end of your off season to being stage lean. The reason why it's a quick process is because it's not healthy at all to hang around at a very, very lean body composition. So quite rightly so, like, I'm not stage lean now because I don't have to be. I have to be when I'm competing in 9 weeks time. So that is really important to acknowledge, and it's also important to just keep your blinkers on and staying in your own lane and not looking at other people and their conditioning. You know, for some people, depending on body types, etc., it might take them 3 days to get lean, but it might take them 3 years to put on muscle mass. We've all got different bodies. We all have different things that we need to work hard at, and that's just something that I need to acknowledge and trust the process and trust my coach, which I do. And I just need to, you know, keep getting my shit done and not letting that, like, worry and anxiety, it's just wasted emotions. You know, you can't control it sometimes, but if you can, it's very, very important to. So yeah, that's number one. Number two is, I'm really not interested in anything right now unless it's to do with my prep. Obviously, as I've described, there is so much that I have to do in the day that is dedicated towards my prep, in terms of cardio, steps, training, posing, checking in with my coach, studying the sport, all of this stuff, like supplements, like hours of my day, absolutely hours, a good quarter of my day, if not more, is prep related. So when there's something that's distracting me and I've got those non-negotiables of having to get my shit done, it gets actually quite frustrating. And that frustrating part leads me on to number three, irritability. I'm starting to get quite fucked off, if I'm honest, but fucked off at nothing. I could like put something like this TV remote on the side and say it falls off, I will literally start swearing at an inanimate object, because my fuse has gone from me being the most zen fucking person ever to me suddenly being like, what the fuck is your problem at a TV remote? Like, it's quite funny. Like, it is actually quite amusing, because afterwards I'll be like, Millie, chill the fuck out, mate. Like, what's your issue? So it's like, I'm so in tune with the fact that I'm getting irritable at simple things in life now that I really don't need to get that frustrated at. And also it's really important not to kind of play into that, because then you just allow your stress levels to rise. So again, meditation, being zen as fuck, really important. But it's tough, man. Like, it's tough constantly feeling like, or not constantly, but several times throughout the day, just kind of getting annoyed at stuff, because that's just negative energy. I ain't about that life. So it's tough because it's difficult to control. Like, it's not something that I feel like I can consciously control, the fact that there's this underlying kind of impatience, but maybe it will get easier with other preps or as times change, in terms of just being able to change environment a little bit more coming out of lockdown. I'm not sure. Just be careful if you notice that I'm having a bad day. Okay, this is a more serious one. Health impacts is something that I want to talk about, or considerations for health. It's safe to say, not for now, things are fine, but I think you become more conscious of your health when you are on prep, you know. Eating more limited food, you need to really prioritize your kind of like micronutrient dense foods. Taking your supplementation is a non-negotiable, because you probably aren't getting everything that you need from diet. Naturally, as you get further into prep, the chances of losing your period, amenorrhea, are much more likely to show you, you know, what happens to your female hormones when your body fat gets that low. That's not something that's happened to me yet. Things like that come into play. And again, stress. So stress is a part of your health. Your mental health really, really does matter. Not just talking about physical health here. So as I get a little bit more irritable, as I kind of notice stress levels rising, that for me also impacts my physical health, because as I've described before, my flare-ups are triggered by stress of my inflammatory bowel disease, so I really need to keep that low. So that's why if I notice myself getting more stressed and irritable, I then get a little bit more worried, because I know that I need to chill out, because I don't want to get ill. So yeah, like the quality of your nutrition, your supplementation, your mental health, your physical health, it is something which suddenly becomes a whole lot more important to you, and which you need to consider a whole lot more when, you know, sometimes, I haven't experienced it yet, to be honest, but when you get deeper into prep, your sleep can also suffer, and getting minimal sleep or poor sleep quality is something which can massively be detrimental to your health. So I just want to highlight that that's not something which is right now at like the top of my list of worries, but it is something which I've been thinking about a little bit more in the background. Coping with people who don't really understand, or with people who don't know about it. As I've kind of said, you know, I have my corporate 9-to-5 job. No one at work at all knows that I'm prepping. I work with people who are about an average age of 45. So they have no idea what bodybuilding is. They don't care for it. They don't understand it. Like when I book time off, oh, what are you booking time off for? When I've got my shows, like I don't even bother saying I'm competing in a bodybuilding show, because I'm going to stand in tiny knickers on a stage and show off my glutes. Like, do you think I could say that to fucking Steve, the 65-year-old professor of chemistry? Like, no, I can't. So it's really weird having to almost like lead a double life and just be quiet about it when your whole life revolves around it. And then there's the other side where you've got, this is literally the next thing on my list, where you've got social media, and you've got everyone who is looking at you, who is cheering you on, because so many of you and your messages, everyone who fucking supports me, I cannot explain to you how much it really means, because there can be days where, you know, like I said, I was being a little bit wobbly, but then like today I posted check-in photo and the messages that I've got are just fucking insane. Love you guys, honestly, really do. And it really does brighten up my spirits. But not only does it come with, you know, that friendship and that camaraderie of speaking to other people who are going through the same process and having you guys cheering me on, everyone's just like, you're killing it, you're smashing it, you're doing well. But when you're in the spot where you're not actually feeling your very best and everyone says, oh, you're killing it, well, you don't have a fucking clue how I feel. Like, you don't know that I lost my head because of this whole process and the fact that I'm documenting it, and it is my fault. I'm exposing myself on social media, and it is my choice to tell you guys about it, because that's what I want to do. I want to document my journey for myself mainly, but also because I'm sure that it's going to help many of you just to understand and learn about the process and the habits and the mindset that I take into it. But you have so many people who are watching you, and sometimes that can feel a little bit overwhelming. But then that is the nature of the sport. The nature of the sport is literally being as vulnerable as possible on that stage and showing off everything you've worked so hard for, just for someone to say, yeah, good, or not so good. So it does really build that resilience. It really does build that kind of motivation and discipline to get your shit done when you hold yourself accountable to other people. Not only do I hold myself accountable to me, and my coach is there for that, obviously, but when you want to make a change in your life, when you tell the world about it, you best fucking believe you're most likely going to make that change. And that's why when I've got my clients recently who have been starting up fitness pages to document their progress, it lights a fire in my heart, because I was there and I did that literally just under a year ago. is when I started my Instagram and started documenting everything. And how far I've come is insane, and I hope exactly the same for them. So that's why also the kind of snowball effect of inspiring others is awesome, which I really appreciate when my girls do share their journey, because I know that it inspires others. I kind of think I've covered most things there. So there's a bit of a list for you as to all the things that are actually going on behind the scenes, which many people won't appreciate if they're not in the position. But throughout this, I've learned how to cope with some of those things, and I will take that on into the rest of my life to know how I can cope with these certain situations and just keep my head screwed on, keep it down, and just keep progressing. And that's why I'm also going through prep, and why I've decided to do this, because I knew that it was going to be as much of a mental challenge as a physical one, which is going to benefit me in the future. And that's why I recommend to any of you who are just sat there in your comfort zones to step the fuck out of it, because you're never going to grow if you're in your comfort zone. If, you know, talking about going back to the gym, I've had a few of my clients say to me, Millie, I'm too scared to go to the gym. I'm not familiar with the weight section. And just from kind of explaining that to them and giving them all the resources that they need to progress and the accountability, they are going to step out of their comfort zone, they're going to thrive, and they're going to go in to the weight section and fucking boss it and become strong ass women and men, both in mental state and in physical state, and I'm super excited for it. So talking about going back to the gym, actually, there's a few things which are important to implement, and one of them is something which is going to just be ridiculous, which is training with a few reps in reserve for the first week back, because if I'm training to failure, I am going to be sore as fuck. And it's not something which is appropriate, especially when my recovery isn't fantastic due to obviously the nature of prep and limited food. So that's one thing which is going to be important, avoiding injury at all costs. I would rather train with reps in reserve for the rest of my prep than be injured. And I'm sure that you guys can all say that for yourself as well. Do not go back into the gym and 1, try and pull PBs. 2, act like a dickhead in the gym because you're back in the dim. The dim? I'm fucking dim, I tell you that. In the gym and just misbehave and try and like throw weight around because you think that you're going to look hard. Just really focus on looking after yourself, really focus on getting into that structured routine, and also focus on your recovery. That protein, nutrition, supplementation, sleep is going to be important for all of you, just as it is for me. So yeah, I'm excited to get back. I'm excited for the change of environment. I'm super, super excited for what April has to hold, because it's an exciting month. Next week's episode is going to be me collecting my, well, it's not going to be collecting, I'm going to be going for my bikini fitting / consultation. So I'll take you along with me. I will get some gym content for you guys. And then I've got 2 or 3 bits of content planned with some awesome videographers over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, exciting things are coming. Have a fantastic rest of your day, guys. To everyone who leaves a like or a comment, or both, I fucking love you. You're awesome. Yeah, have a good one. Much love. See you in the next one. Bye.